So now I'm left with just a one-step equation. 2.5x equals 15. So I'm going to divide. And then these will cancel out. What I do to one side of the equation, I must do to the other. So 2.5 and 2.5 will cancel out. I'm left with x. And 15 divided by 2.5, I plug that into my calculator and I get 6. So x equals 6. So on my PowerPoint, here's what they did. All the steps I just did, undo the subtraction, undo the multiplication, x equals 6. And then it says check your solution. So now I'm going to check that 6 works. So wherever I see x in my equation, I'm going to put 6 and then solve my equation. So 2.5 by times 6, what does that give me? So right here, I did 15 divided by 2.5 and I got 6. So 6 times 2.5 gives me 15. Bring down my negative 13 equals 2 because I bring that down. 15 minus 13 gives me 2. 2, in fact, does equal 2. So I checked my solution and it was correct. Does anyone have any questions on how I did this part or how I did the first part? Anybody need me to go over anything again, slow it down? No from Avery, no from Jasmine, no from Isaiah. Okay. Next problem. Combining like terms to solve an equation. So this is also a two-step equation, but first we have two x's to combine. So try and solve this on your own. And if you don't know how to do it, don't worry. I'll show an example, but I'm going to give you guys a minute to try and do it by yourself. Okay, so I have negative 12 equals 9x minus 6x plus 15. Solve for x. So my first step, what is that going to be? Type it in the chat if you think you know what my first step should be. Hint, it says it in the title. Combine like terms. Good job, guys. So in order to get started, I'm going to combine like terms to make it easier on myself, because if I tried to do it with two different x's, I would not be able to solve it. So I'm going to combine my like terms. So 9x minus 6x is 3x, because 9 minus 6 is 3 and the x's aren't affected. Then I can bring down my positive 15 and bring down my negative 12. Now we have a two-step equation like we did in our last problem. So what am I going to do next? Get the x alone. Yes, I want to isolate my variable. So in order to get the x by itself, I'm going to subtract 15 from both sides so that it's just x on this side. Yes, Riley, correct. Subtract 15. We know it's subtract because this is a positive, so I undo the addition by subtracting 15. What I do to one side of the equation, I must do to the other. Positive and negative cancel out. Minus 12 minus 15 gives me a negative 27. And then this 3x comes down. Now it's just a one-step equation. To get x by itself and isolate the variable, I'm going to divide both sides by 3 because this is being multiplied together. So I'm going to undo the multiplication with division. What I do to one side of the equation, I must do to the other. Now it's just a basic math problem. Negative 27 divided by 3, what's my answer? Negative 9. Good job, Cooper. So x equals negative 9. So here's how the book explains to do it. And then we're going to check our solution. So we're going to plug in negative 9 to my equation, and then it'll work out to equal negative 12. I'm not going to solve it because I want to get through this so that I can give you guys time to get on to big ideas math. Okay. Solving real life problems. There is a story problem one, so I want to do it really quick. There's one on your homework, so I want to do an example. Okay. Your school's drama club charges $4 per person for admission to the play. The club borrowed $400 to pay for costume and props. After paying back the loan, the club has a profit of $100. How many people attended the play? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to read the problem, step 1. Step 2, understand it. Step 3, make a plan. Step 4, solve. So understand the problem. You know how much the club charges for admission. You know how much the club borrowed and its profit. You're asked to find out how many people attended the play. So use a verbal model to write an equation that represents the problem, then solve. So I know looking at it right now, it's kind of like intimidating. Story problems are scary and hard, but if you just talk it out and kind of write it on your paper, it'll be a lot easier to kind of figure out. So the words, we have ticket price, number of people who attended, a loan, and then we're trying to find the profit. So I like to first start by putting an equal sign, because I'm going to have two sides to my equation. What am I trying to find? What is that question asking us to find? Number of people, correct. So that will be my variable, right? Because I don't know how many people attended, so I'll use that as X. Okay? So X will be the number of people. And then up here where it says understand the problem, you know how much the club charges for admission. So how much do they charge?
$4 a person.
Yep, good job, Avery. So it's $4 per person. And then you know how much the club borrowed. How much did they borrow?
$400.
Yep. And they made a profit of $100. So that's what I know. I have these three things that I know, and I'm trying to solve for X. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to multiply the $4 per person times the number of people, because we have person and person and people. Those two need to be on the same side of the equation. Does that make sense?
You can just do $500 divided by 4.
Yeah, that's what we'll get to. So what I'm going to do is $4 per person. And then I have X times X. And then we know that they borrowed $400. So I'm going to minus 400 because they borrowed it. And then for my equal sign, I'm going to put 100 because that's how much they made in profit. So they gained $100, but they borrowed 400, so we're going to subtract it. We have $4 per person to get in, and we're trying to solve how many people attended. So the X is the number of people. And so those will cancel out, the person and people, and then I'll be left with 4 times X minus 400 equals 100. Okay, now it's a two-step equation and I'm going to solve. The 4 times x can be written as 4x because we're multiplying them together. So now it's just a simple two-step equation. What's my first step here?
Subtract 400.
Subtract or add?
Add.
Good job. So I want to get the x by itself. So I'm going to add 400 to both sides because that will get the x by itself on one side of the equation. So 100 plus 400 gives me 500. These will cancel out, and I'm left with 4x equals 500. Now that's a simple one-step equation you can solve. What's your next step?
500 divided by 4.
Yep, divide 4 from both sides to get x by itself. So now these will cancel, and x equals 125 because 500 divided by 4 gives me 125. Does that make sense? Kind of, little? Okay. So if you guys have problems with the kind of story problems in the homework, just email me or set up office hours and I would gladly go over them with you because story problems are a little bit more tricky, but if you just take the time to think it through. Okay. Now the homework, let me go in and assign it. So I forgot to tell you guys in person on Monday, there will be a quiz on Friday. So it's very important you come to class on Friday. It's going to be just like a 6-question quiz, not hard, but about 1-step and 2-step equations. So what we learned this week. So please come Friday to take the quiz because if you don't show up Friday, then you'll have to schedule it during office hours to take the quiz. So come on Friday for those 15 minutes and we will do the quiz. All right, so I assigned
What is the quiz on?
the quiz is just on 1-step equations and 2-step equations. Okay, so I assigned